Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the bank's Financial Stability Report press conference. On my left is Sam Woods, the Deputy Governor for Prudential Regulation. On my far right is Ben Broadbent, the Deputy Governor for Monetary Policy.
Everybody but John here is squirrely, and none of them look up except for John.
Next to Ben is John Cunliffe, the Deputy Governor for Financial Stability.
John isn't as strong as we thought. If you go back just a second, he's introduced and his shoulders come in. He turtles it. At this point, you can see that he's just looking over the heads of the people. And then the star of the hour over here with his tight lips and turtling. There's one thing about being nervous, and that's okay. But when you see everyone in avoidance and hiding, that's a warning sign.
And on my immediate right is the Governor, Mark Carney.
Thank you, Gareth. Good afternoon, everyone. The Bank of England's job is to promote the good of the people of the United Kingdom by maintaining monetary and financial stability. That means low, stable, and predictable inflation, and it means resilient and reliable financial system that's there for UK households and businesses in good times as well as bad.
So as we see him speak, it's kind of hard to tell where this audience is, but I don't think they're 10 feet tall. He's looking over them. There's some things that being nervous and you shouldn't be. Well, basically, if you're running a bank and your job is stability and you can't even face the people that you're dealing with, that's squirreliness. That's a red flag.
The bank focuses on the necessities of price and financial stability so that people can focus on what matters most to them, such as buying a house, saving for education or retirement, or starting a business. And the single most important determinant at present of the UK economic outlook is the nature and timing of Brexit. Since the referendum, the bank has done everything we can to ensure we're ready for Brexit, whatever form it takes.
Now we started seeing some bouncing there as well. And he is just reading verbatim. So which tells us basically as he's going to read this, there's no memory of doing. There's no memory of looking over. There's nothing there. It'd be like your kid telling you he cleaned his room and he went through the whole spill of it. And he has no memory of doing it. He's got no memory of seeing it. He's got no memory of thinking about it. Nothing. Which should tell you he didn't clean his room. This tells me he didn't do as he's saying.
As today's stress tests reveal, the core of our financial system is strong. Major banks have capital ratios 3.5 times higher than before the financial crisis. We've worked closely with the UK government, other UK authorities, and European partners to manage possible risks of disruption to the financial system. And most fundamentally, our institutional framework is robust. The bank has clear objectives, operational independence, all the necessary tools, and the resolve to deliver our monetary and financial stability remits. So, consistent with those remits, the bank is publishing 2 documents today. The first is our latest financial...
That was interesting. So inconsistent, and he brings his arms up together and across each other. He's hiding. He's literally just hiding. He's gated and hiding. It's like, how small of a ball can I make myself sitting at this table reading this that clearly I didn't do, and I'm just reading it? The sky is falling. The sky is falling.
Stability report, which details the important current risks to UK financial stability, and they run beyond Brexit. But it also includes our latest stress tests of major UK banks. And secondly, our response to the House of Commons Treasury Committee's request for analysis of how Brexit will affect the bank's ability to deliver our objectives. Specifically, the TSC requested that the bank focus on the consequences of a potential economic partnership with the EU and a no-deal, no-transition Brexit scenario. And let me begin by stressing what these analyses are and what they are not. These are scenarios, not forecasts. They illustrate what could happen, not necessarily what's most likely to happen. Building scenarios requires making assumptions about the form of the new relationship between the UK and the EU, the degree of preparedness across firms and critical infrastructure, and the response of macroeconomic policies. The scenarios are calculated for the policy-relevant timelines for the bank, that is, up to 5 years, and as such, they're not assessments of the relative long-term merits of different trading relationships. The scenarios are, however, informative about the relative economic impacts.
So we're seeing a lot of stress in the face as he's going over this. And he keeps talking about scenarios, which he'll emphasize with them eyebrows. It's the scenarios. Listen to the scenarios. Think about that word, scenarios. He's not saying facts. He's saying scenarios. Yeah, we sat up late one night and we came up with a bunch of shit that would scare the crap out of you. We don't really know if it's going to happen or not, but we just figured we'd say it so that you'd believe it. With no memory of even looking at any data that says anything like this.
Of various economic relationships and the transitions to them. Taken together, the scenarios highlight that the impact of Brexit will depend on the direction, magnitude, and speed of the effect of reduced openness on the UK economy. The direction of the effects of a reduction in openness is clear. Lower supply capacity, weaker demand, a lower exchange rate, and higher inflation. The magnitude of these economic impacts is modeled using established empirical relationships, and it's disciplined by the bank's suite of macroeconomic models to ensure their coherence and plausibility. But the speed of adjustment is less clear, given the lack of precedence of reduced openness, particularly amongst advanced economies. So the worst-case scenarios assume that adjustment to deintegration happens more rapidly than it has over the past decades to integration. This assumption is grounded by cross-checks, including econometric models, case studies, and intelligence from the bank's agents across the United Kingdom. The MPC and the FPC have reviewed the relevant scenarios, and they will use them as inputs in their policy deliberations. So let me turn to a few key observations, starting with the economic partnership. These scenarios reflect government policy and are most relevant for the MPC. They show the sensitivities to key elements of the new partnership yet to be negotiated, such as the extent of customs and regulatory checks, the degree of non-tariff barriers to services trade, and the breadth of equivalence determinations.
So he goes into the beginning of this customs talk, and he gives a positive head movement to it. And it literally is that, positive. His mindset, as far as this customs thing, is a positive mindset.
Such as the extent of customs and regulatory checks, the degree of non-tariff barriers to services trade, and the breadth of equivalence determinations.
We also see that dip down. It's another positive to non-tariff trades.
For financial services. In the 5 years under the partnership scenarios, GDP is between 1.25% and 3.75% lower than it would have been if the economy had continued growing at its May 2016 trend rate. Relative to the bank's most recent forecast in November.
So anyways, when we see that, we're starting to see the belief system come out. It's not really based in facts because no facts were spoken. It's the belief system. Customs good. No tariff trade good. And again, throughout this whole thing, we see no access of anything of him actually having knowledge on any assessment or any facts of anything. I mean, if you're going to take this man's word for it, I've got a bridge. Real cheap.
Inflation is lower in the near term in both scenarios, given the appreciation in sterling. It rises as the transition period ends due to the fading effects of that appreciation, and in the less close partnership scenario, as custom barriers take effect from 2021. A mechanical model of monetary policy generates a gently rising path for bank rate over the scenario. This should not be taken as a prediction of the actual path for bank rates, which will depend in practice on the balance of effects of demand, supply, and the exchange rate.
Now he has gone smaller, so he's really hiding on this one. Just an FYI, when I see them get like this, and they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, it means generally they know that what's coming out of their mouth will either not be bought or is BS. I kind of lean on the fact that it's BS.
Turning to no deal and no transition Brexit, there are a range of possible outcomes in the event of that, consistent with the FPC's remit.
Also notice too, his movements are getting smaller and smaller and smaller as he goes into this deception, manipulation, and he's turtled himself.
a remit to protect and enhance the resilience of the UK financial system to major shocks, the FPC has focused on two variants, labeled disruptive and disorderly, which are underpinned by worst case assumptions. In both scenarios,
And that's a repeat. Worst case assumptions. In case you didn't hear him, it's the worst case. I'm going to cover my ass right here and just say it's the worst case assumptions. We have a saying in this country. When you assume, you make an ass out of me and you. If you liked it, leave a like.
If you like the content, please subscribe using this link via specific feeds. You'll be sent notifications to the full-length videos and ones that can't make it to YouTube, and you won't mysteriously be unsubscribed either. There is now a video course available on her website for gold subscribers, where Mandy teaches more about her techniques of deception detection. There's also other content such as the Crime Series, an Interesting Mind series, and monthly podcasts available to both gold and silver subscribers.
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.